Ridda Wars, the battle to save Islam. How did a woman claiming prophethood end up joining forces with a man who abolished prayer and legalized wine? Why did tribes that once pledged allegiance to the prophet suddenly turn their backs on Islam? What did Khalid ibn al-Walid do when faced with an army of 40,000 apostates and a fortress guarded by delusion? This isn't just a story of swords and strategy. It's a tale of divine loyalty, battlefield brilliance, and a spear that once martyred Hamza, now piercing the heart of a false prophet. From secret alliances to daring ambushes, from prophetic imposters to the rise of the first caliph, this is the Ridda Wars, where Islam was nearly torn apart and then reborn in fire. It was the year 632 CE. The Prophet Muhammad Salam, surrounded by tens of thousands of companions, performed what would be his last Hajj. The desert sun bore witness to a sea of believers, hearts united, robes flowing, and voices echoing the talbiyah. Then came the verse, like a seal on a divine scroll. Today I have perfected your religion for you, completed my favor upon you, and chosen Islam as your religion. Surah Al-Ma'idah 5:3. The message was clear. Islam was complete. No edits, no sequels, no footnotes. The Prophet had delivered the final revelation. The curtain was closing. In his sermons and hadiths, the Prophet ﷺ made it unmistakably clear. The nations before you were ruled by prophets. When one died, another succeeded him. But there will be no prophet after me. Instead, caliphs will lead you. Yet, he left no explicit instruction on who that caliph should be. A divine test, perhaps, to see how the Ummah would handle succession. The calendar turned to Safar, and on the 27th, the Prophet ﷺ complained of a headache. Days passed. The fever worsened. The companions were gripped with dread. He addressed them, "O my companions, you are worried about my death. Has any prophet ever stayed forever among his ummah? So why should I?" The words were gentle, but they cut deep. The reality was settling in. 3 days before his passing, the Prophet ﷺ could no longer lead the prayers. He asked Abu Bakr to take his place. 17 prayers later, the message was clear. Abu Bakr was the one. On Monday, the 12th of Rabi al-Awwal, the blessed soul of the Prophet ﷺ ascended to Rafiq al-Ala, the highest companion. The news hit Medina like a thunderclap. Ali was stunned into silence. Umar unsheathed his sword, threatening anyone who said the Prophet was dead. Uthman was speechless. Bilal couldn't recite the Adhan. The air was thick with grief. Hearts burned, eyes flooded. Then, Abu Bakr ascended the pulpit. His voice was steady, his words surgical. "O people, if anyone worships Muhammad, let him know that he is dead. But if you worship Allah, he is alive, everlasting." He recited, "Muhammad is but a messenger. Messengers have passed before him. If he dies or is killed, will you turn back?" Surah Al-Imran 3:44. "And surely you will die, and they will die." Surah Az-Zumar 39. He warned, "Let not Satan deceive you with the death of our Prophet. Hold fast to the Book of Allah and the Sunnah." The effect was electric. The companions, once drowning in sorrow, found their footing. The storm of grief began to settle. But outside Medina, the news of the Prophet's death was seen by some as a green light to rebel. Tribal leaders who had pledged allegiance now renounced Islam, refused to pay zakat, and some even claimed prophethood themselves. The unity forged by the Prophet was cracking. Abu Bakr, now caliph, faced a choice: watch the Ummah unravel or fight to preserve it. He chose the latter. Now pause for a sec. Step into the extraordinary. Subscribe to Eccentric Digital Pixel. Welcome to the wild frontier of creativity, where pixels pulse with imagination and every frame tells a story you've never seen before. At Eccentric Digital Pixel, we don't follow trends, we bend reality. From surreal digital art to mind-blowing visual experiments, this is your backstage pass to the future of expression. Why hit subscribe? Get exclusive access to jaw-dropping digital creations. Be the first to witness new drops by turning on notifications. Dive into a world of eccentric brilliance that inspires, challenges, and captivates. Join a community of visionaries who crave the unconventional. Don't just scroll, experience the pixel revolution. Smash that subscribe button and ring the bell to never miss a masterpiece. Because normal is boring, and you were born to see the world differently. The air in Medina was heavy. The Prophet ﷺ had returned to his Lord, and the companions were shattered. But amid the tears and trembling hearts, a realization dawned. Islam could not afford a vacuum of leadership. The Ummah was young, vulnerable, and surrounded by tribes whose loyalty was as thin as desert mist. The companions knew if the Islamic State remained headless, chaos would follow. Apostasy, tribalism, and civil strife would devour the unity the Prophet had built. While Hazrat Ali and the Prophet's family prepared the burial, a group of companions gathered at Saqifa Banu Sa'idah to discuss succession. It was not a power grab. It was a race against collapse. Hazrat Abu Bakr, sensing the urgency, left the funeral arrangements to Hazrat Ali and joined the discussion. After intense deliberation, the companions reached a consensus. Abu Bakr should be the caliph. He was the Prophet's closest companion, the one who had led prayers in his absence, and the one whose heart mirrored the Prophet's mission. The next day, the companions gathered in the mosque. One by one, they pledged allegiance to Abu Bakr. The tension eased. The storm of uncertainty began to settle. He was given the title Khalifatul Rasulullah, the Caliph of the Messenger of Allah. Not a prophet, but a deputy, entrusted to uphold the principles of Islam and govern the state. Abu Bakr ascended the pulpit. His voice was steady, his message clear. O people, if I fulfill my duty properly, help me. If I am wrong, show me the right path. Truthfulness is safety. Falsehood is treason. The weak among you is strong with me until he receives his due. The strong among you is weak in my sight until someone else's right is taken from him. Obey me as I obey Allah and his messenger. If I disobey them, you are not obliged to obey me. It wasn't a coronation, it was a covenant. Before his death, the Prophet ﷺ had prepared an army under Usama ibn Zayd to march to Mu'tah, to avenge the fallen and assert Muslim strength. After the Prophet's death, some companions hesitated. Should they send an army when rebellion was brewing? Abu Bakr's answer was thunderous. I will not detain an army that the Messenger of Allah ordered to march. And so the army marched north along the Red Sea for 2.5 months, quelling rebellious tribes and restoring order. But the fire was spreading. Reports came in, tribes were refusing zakat, denying Islamic obligations, and some even declared themselves prophets. The army was recalled, not in retreat but to reinforce Medina. The Ridda Wars had begun. Abu Bakr sent messages to the tribes around Medina. Gather, prepare, stand firm. The army of the caliphate began to form. Usama's forces returned and joined the ranks. The first battle was against the apostate tribes of Abs and Zubian, and the Muslims defeated them. Many tribes, seeing the strength of the caliphate, reconverted to Islam. The defeated tribes fled to Tulayha, a man who claimed prophethood. He moved from Sumaira to Buzaha, setting up his headquarters and rallying forces. Abu Bakr responded with precision. He divided the army into 11 units, each with a commander and a mission. The map of Arabia was now a chessboard, and Abu Bakr was playing to win. With Arabia teetering on the edge of chaos, Caliph Abu Bakr R.A. unleashed a masterstroke. 11 armies, each led by a seasoned commander, fanned out across the peninsula, like blades drawn from a divine scabbard. Each commander took his troops and marched toward their assigned region. But Abu Bakr didn't just send swords, he sent letters of mercy. He called the apostate tribes back to Islam, warning them that if they persisted, he would not be responsible for what followed. Among the rebels was Tulayha, a man who claimed that Gabriel had visited him. His message? No need to prostrate, Allah didn't require it. According to Ibn al-Asir, many Arabs believed him. The tribes of Asad, Ghatafan, and Tay rallied to his banner. His headquarters? Buzaha, a desert stronghold where delusion dressed itself as revelation. Enter Khalid ibn al-Walid, the sword of Allah. He first marched to Eknaf, the center of the Tay tribe. There he met with the tribal elders. Their confession? We feared Tulayha would kill us. Their decision? They returned to Islam. Soon the tribes of Adi and Jadila joined Khalid, bringing his force to 1,500 warriors. The stage was set. Tulayha mobilized his army. The desert held its breath. The two armies collided. Dust rose. Swords clanged. Khalid's tactics were flawless. Tulayha's prophecies failed him. He fled to Syria, leaving his followers scattered like sand in the wind. Khalid then turned his attention to Buta, where Malik bin Nuwaira, once a zakat officer under the Prophet ﷺ, had declared allegiance to Sikah. Who was Seka? A woman who claimed prophethood. Her message was vague, her charisma potent. Malik followed her and paid the price. He was killed in battle, and control was restored. Sika, now cornered, fled to Musaylama. Musaylama claimed revelation from an angel named Rahman. He abolished prayers, permitted drinking and fornication, and built a following of 40,000. Ikrimah ibn Abu Jahl was sent to confront him, but Musaylama's forces were too strong. Ikrimah withdrew, waiting for Khalid ibn al-Walid. Khalid arrived. The two armies united. The battle began. At first, Musaylama's forces surged. They even breached the Muslim tents, but the companions held firm. Their patience was steel, their resolve divine. Then the tide turned. The apostates began to flee. The Muslims pursued them, cutting down those they caught. Musaylama and his army retreated to their fortress. Its walls were high. The Muslims laid siege. Then came a moment of madness and brilliance. Bara ibn Malik said, "Wrap me in a cloth and throw me into the garden." The companions hesitated, but as night fell, they did it. Bara landed behind the gate, rose like a lion, neutralized the guards, and opened the gates. The Muslims stormed in. Chaos erupted. The apostates panicked. Musaylama, foaming at the mouth, tried to climb a breach in the wall. He was desperate, delusional. Then came Washi, the man who had once martyred Hamza at Uhud, now a Muslim. He hurled his spear. It pierced Musaylama from one side to the other. The same spear that had once brought sorrow, now brought justice. The battle ended. 20,000 apostates were killed. The Muslims lost 2,000 martyrs. Good news flooded Medina. Rebellions in Yemen, Hadramaut, Mera, Oman, and Bahrain were crushed. The Islamic lands were once again united. The Ridda Wars had ended. The internal threats were eliminated. Next up, Battle of Yarmouk. With Arabia secure, Abu Bakr looked outward. The next chapter? The Battle of Yarmouk, where Islam would face the Byzantine Empire. If you've been gripped by this epic tale of faith, fire, and fortitude, don't forget to follow, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you never miss another legendary story from the golden age of Islam. The saga continues.